Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Nerdy. I'm Nick.
I'm Damon.
And we talk about all things nerd here today on the podcast.
Avengers, it's over 9,000!
Use the Force, Luke.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Welcome to Let's Talk Nerdy. This is our first inaugural episode. I'm Nick.
And I'm Damon.
And on our show, we discuss everything nerdy happening in the world because that's just the kind of people we are.
And we love nerdy people.
Yeah, we have problems. We are socially inept. So, anyway. Wow. Anyway, today on the show, we're going to talk, first thing out of the gate, Batman v Superman versus Civil War.
I don't even think this is really much of a debate, but...
I agree, it's not a debate, and there is a clear winner on top of this, and it's Civil War. And I know we just lost half of the audience tuning in for the first time because it's a whole Marvel-DC rivalry thing. Mine's better than yours. Ah!
But it's still fun to debate, even though everyone has their own opinions on what's better.
And clearly, there is a right opinion.
DC.
No, Marvel, clearly.
Okay, not current DC, but DC was once in the lead. I mean,
Well, sure, back
before
when
the Snyder family took over.
Before the Snyder... Was that before or after the Green Lantern film?
Anyway.
Oh, mic drop.
A lot of people will beg to differ that Green Lantern was definitely better than Batman vs. Superman.
I would agree to that. Batman v Superman was terrible.
It was a good movie.
But starting off here, I think we should discuss the pros and cons of each film. So, starting with Batman Superman, right off the bat, we're going to do the pros because I could tear this movie apart all day. But the main pro, Ben Affleck, did an amazing job.
In all honesty, all the actors did a great job at what they were given.
To a point. I will give you that. I think they followed direction perfectly. However, they were being directed by a drunk monkey, so there's not much that can be said there.
Snyder doesn't know Superman whatsoever.
And I feel bad about that because, to a degree, I had been a Snyder fan up until this point. I actually liked Watchmen, which up to this point had been considered a major controversial film.
Never seen it.
You know, it's worth watching. It's pretty good. They kept to the story pretty well, and I gave him massive credit for that because
I heard it was a great movie. So
exactly. He kept, and this is what had me irritated with Batman Superman. For Watchmen, whether you liked the film or you didn't, he kept to what those characters were. The very core of it was there. You had the characters like Rorschach and all that he didn't shy away from the fact that they were darker characters, but he wasn't afraid to actually put some levity in the film as well.
So you're telling me he actually read the comic before he made the movie? Did he do that with Superman?
I don't think so. I think he got the memo from Warner Brothers that was like, we have the Dark Knight, and that was our highest selling thing. Make it dark. And he's like, you want dark? I can make it dark.
He went beyond dark.
And went crazy with it. But back to the good points about the film. I have to say the actual Batman-Superman fight was good. It technically, from a film aspect, looked good.
He can do fight scenes. We got that part. But can he tell a story?
And if it's not entirely laid out for him, I don't think so.
I swear that script was jumping all over the place.
It had no real structure to it whatsoever. The motivations of the characters were completely unclear, with the exception, possibly, of Batman, but even his motive didn't seem to fit.
He was going towards the Dark Knight Rises part. Dark Knight Returns.
I know what you meant. Dark Knight Returns. I think the listeners know what
But he went way too far beyond it. Like, Batman has used guns before, but not to the point where he's in the middle of a car chase, blowing up buildings, ripping through trucks, and I swear to God, he probably killed 10 people in that one scene alone.
Oh, at least.
Just to get a rock.
I'm just saying, there's a major hypocrisy to it. The fact that he's like, Superman, I don't like you because you kill people. As he's stepping over bodies to go tell him this.
he had a motive to go after Superman, but
Oh, sure. It was a weak motive, but there was there.
They were too busy focusing on what he was afraid of and more of the cause of why he's going after him.
That is fair. And to a degree, I'm trying to think of something else I actually enjoyed about the film.
Wonder Woman.
And you know what? Yes, Wonder Woman, all that film did, aside from make me heavily disappointed, which, that's just how it was, but it made me excited to go see a Wonder Woman film. The whole time I was watching it, I was like, let's go back to Wonder Woman, because I want to see that movie.
I am excited for that movie.
It looks like it's going to be fantastic.
She was the only sane person in that movie.
Well, exactly. I kind of wanted that point where, like, the three of them are all lining up to fight, her to just look at the two of them and be like, you know what? I don't want to associate with you guys. Bye.
Just flies away.
And what is with that? I mean, okay, spoilers for everybody here, but there's that end sequence where they all get together to fight, and Wonder Woman shows up, and Batman turns to Superman and goes, "Is she with you?" It's like, no, you stupid idiot. She's with you. You sent her a freaking email. Did you expect her not to show up?
I feel like what he was aiming for was, he didn't really know this woman. He was more like asking if Superman knew this woman. He could have worded it directly.
He sent her an email.
And if I was Batman...
at this point, Wonder Woman should turn to Batman and go, wow, really, dude? Thanks, nice, and just leave. You know what? Deal with this thing on your own.
Superman should have looked at Lois. I do not know this woman.
And, okay, we got to talk about Lois for a second here, because this was the other thing.
She was probably the most painful part in that entire movie.
That was useless. And I like Amy Adams. Okay, I'm going to go out there and say it. I know it might not be a popular opinion, but I like Amy Adams as an actress.
Erica
I think
Durance
she does
is better.
Well, of course Erica Durance is better, but that's going back to Smallville, which I love. But anyway, going back to Amy Adams here, she was given nothing to do in this film, and every time out, it was just kind of a blunder with her script.
She was
terrible.
there to basically be saved. More than once, by the way, in this entire movie, she was in the way.
I think she got saved in this film 4 times.
There was the beginning, which, I'm sorry, Jimmy Olsen, I really am.
Yeah,
But
Jimmy Olsen with his powerful 2 lines and then shot in the head. Why did you even bother? I mean, what is that?
Is it because he's in Supergirl? They felt like they couldn't put him in the movies?
I don't know, but, okay.
Anyway,
I feel like this pros thing turned into a list of cons, which is my issue with
I
this
liked the
film.
movie more than you did. I feel like it is a watchable movie.
I don't.
I will agree there has been issues with this movie more than... Anyway.
When I left the theater, I was actually depressed leaving this theater.
I feel like there was tears in your eyes. I feel like you were crying.
It was in the soul, man. I'm going to tell you straight off the bat, guys, I am a huge Superman fan.
Batman.
So to see... Then I don't understand. I mean, because they butchered 2 of our favorite characters. Look, I'm not saying that Ben Affleck didn't do a good job with what he was given. He did. I mean, Ben Affleck is, in my opinion, a top-tier actor.
He loves Batman.
Exactly. So I don't know why he could have signed off on that. That was a terrible representation.
Because he was excited. He got to be Batman, an actual superhero where he
Agreed.
everything up in comics for Batman.
But last time he did this, he was coming off of Daredevil.
Which
he should have learned off of that one to have some kind of
which was entirely not his fault.
Which is why I'm glad he's got creative control on the next one. Don't get me wrong. I think you're going to look at a much better Batman film.
But this movie showed more Batman than Nolan's Batman. He did detective work. He used a grappling hook in a fight, which that warehouse scene where he's rescuing Martha was probably the best scene in that movie.
Okay, now this is where it's going to get fun, folks, because we're going to debate a little bit here.
Oh, God.
As to his detective work, I would like to point out that if this is the best he's got, he is the worst detective in the world. I mean... Freaking Lex Luthor figures out through no apparent means, because it's all off screen.
Both their identities
with no real problem, and Batman is just stumbling through this whole film and can't figure out who the bad guy is throughout the whole thing.
We'll get to the Lex Luthor stuff later, but Batman has been more Batman in Batman vs. Superman alone than the Nolan films, which, by the way, I'm a fan of the Nolans, excluding the third one. But
and I actually didn't hate the third one, but Nolan's Batman trilogy, whilst I think you could say the weakest part of Batman's Nolan trilogy is Batman.
With throat cancer, by the way.
With the throat cancer voice.
I look at the Nolan trilogy more as a Gordon trilogy. it's been more Commissioner Gordon than Batman.
The thing is, though, those movies remembered what they were. The hero was a hero in the film. He didn't murder people for shits and giggles.
Really, I question some of that in those movies.
Okay, fair.
But
fair. There are a few moments
I agree.
in there
I get
where
your
I can
point,
get
though. But
now I got to jump over to Superman for a second because
there's so
as
much
a
wrong
die-hard Superman
there
fan,
is so much wrong with Superman in that movie.
I could not have been more depressed by it.
I think that's what got you the most.
Absolutely, it's a hero of mine, an icon dragged
He's supposed
through the
to be
mud.
a hero, not
a mopey, brooding teenage punk. Oh,
he
my
was
God.
more brooding than Batman. I feel like.
Exactly. It's like they had a contest of who could use Prozac the most, and Superman came out on top.
Let's talk about this one scene that bothered me the most with Superman. You probably already know what I'm going to talk about.
I do.
The courtroom.
Oh my God. Yep.
Which if any of you guys have watched Smallville, you will know that he can notice an explosion the second it goes off and move fast enough to save someone. But in Batman vs. Superman, no, he lets them die and burn. Doesn't even try to move to save a life.
He doesn't move an inch. He just sits there and then he broods and looks around in the explosion because Snyder thinks it looks cool to have a character looking around in fire.
I mean, does the smell not bother him?
I don't know. I don't
it?
know. It's like burning corpses around him. He's just sitting there going, darn, you know what? I probably should have done something here.
Maybe bring some marshmallows and graham crackers.
Yeah, it's the point. And this goes to the problem. All right, I enjoyed the prequel to it, Man of Steel, a little bit.
It was a better Superman film than what
But
we got in.
I still thought it was a step in the wrong direction. But I instead of fixing a whole bunch of stuff like I thought they would, I thought he went out of his way and he killed Zod in that one, and that was going to change him into being
Which
the
we
hero.
understood the reason for, but
Absolutely, I don't think you should have written him into the corner where he had to do it in the first place.
Nolan was against that decision. By the way, Nolan was completely against killing Zod. He told Snyder not to.
I agree.
Which is sad when we have to agree with Nolan on something.
I like Christopher Nolan as a filmmaker. I'm a film major, so I have to be nerdy on this too. I like Christopher Nolan a lot. I've enjoyed all of his films since Memento onward. They've been fantastic.
Never seen that.
Get a chance if you get a chance, definitely see Memento.
I heard good things.
But yeah, it go on through like Inception and Interstellar and all of those films.
I'm a
and
big Inception fan.
But so I give the Nolan universe side of that a lot of praise. But the thing is, when it comes down to it, Warner Brothers picked up on what they thought was a successful formula and they ran with it. They don't understand the core of these characters. They think, well, since that worked and it was a dark tone, we can run forward with a dark tone throughout all of DC. The dark tone only really works with Batman. I mean, you can't have a dark tone Superman. That's not who he is.
Which we need to remember that at one point, Batman wasn't always so dark and broody. He can cock a smile and some sense of humor once in a while, but not full blown. I feel like he's in depression. But Superman, if anyone knows Superman, he is a happy guy. He is always smiling. He is a Boy Scout.
The big blue Boy Scout, yes, exactly. And I know a lot of people feel this is his weakness. People feel like, well, that doesn't make him an interesting character. But you know what? At the core of it, that's who he is, and that's what makes him watchable. And the thing is, Superman's not supposed to be relatable, and this is what irks me off. That people don't understand. He's not a character you're supposed to relate with. He's a character you're supposed to look up to. There's a complete difference in there. You're supposed to look at that and strive to be better. That's the core of who Superman is. You shouldn't be like, the way to make him relatable is to drag him into the muck and have him murder people. It's not the way to go.
And if you're doing a dual film of Batman and Superman, you gotta have Superman be the cocky superhero with a sense who picks on Batman for being broody all the time. Like, if you watch any of the animated original movies with Batman and Superman, they're always picking on each other.
Exactly. There's a fun banter back and forth between them. And I understand that that's not what they could go for a Batman versus Superman tone.
But we don't need two broody guys, where one is being hunted and the other is dealing with a god complex of being worshipped and feared at the same time.
Exactly. And the thing is, it's just too dark of an overall tone. When you look at it, and I mean that in more than one sense. First of all, it's an actual dark tone because, I mean, the characters are brooding the whole way through and all of that stuff. But from an actual filmmaker standpoint, every color in the thing is desaturated. There's no difference between Metropolis and Gotham when it comes down to the color scheme of how things look. Most of the film takes place at night. I swear to God, it could have been, The Dark Knight, and they could have spelled it N-I-G-H-T as a pun and just ran with it because... I swear to God, it was daylight 3 times in that film, maybe.
Maybe for 30 seconds or something.
Yeah, exactly. There was the opening scene where Superman frickin' takes out the terrorists, and then the court scene, and everything else happened at night.
If you wanted to do a Batman vs. Superman movie, Batman's part should have been at night. Superman should have been in day.
Well, exactly. There's 2 different sides of the hero that you can then play with, and just from an overall filming standpoint, you have the different contrast of them. You should have knocked up the Metropolis colors. You should have saturated them a little bit and desaturated the Batman stuff, which would work. People have loved that in the actual comic book look for a long time. The Gothams are always the grays and the blues and the dark colors, where Superman, when he's flying around Metropolis, has always been like these bright golds and the reds and all of these kind of nice things that have gone with that. But I feel like we're veering off topic here.
I feel like I was supposed to defend this film, and I'm doing a poor job at defending this film.
I think you were too, because when it comes down to it, I've been a Marvel guy since the beginning for their stuff.
I've always been a DC guy because I like realism in my superheroes. But I like seeing them get defeated and then come back up.
Here's the thing, though. And this is what has always irritated me about fanboys on either side. The thing is, no one wants to go into a bad movie. It's not like I was sitting there hoping Batman Superman was a terrible film. No one wants that.
You had so much hope going into that movie.
I did. No one wants that kind of experience. And the thing is, when a movie is bad, like Batman Superman was, and I'm sorry to say it, if you really loved it, that's great. Art is subjective, and that's fine that you can like it. But if a movie is bad, it shouldn't hurt a fan base to say so. It helps. It moves things forward. It gives people an opportunity to shape the next one better. Look at the criticism that did come out of that film. They went back and they did some reshoots for the Suicide Squad movie.
Yes, they tried to add a lighter tone to it because after the negativity Batman vs. Superman got, they noticed, well, we should probably do some reshoots to add some more humor. No, either way, I feel like that movie's not safe because I just cannot stand Joker in that movie.
And I'm look, and this is me, and I don't necessarily like the DCU as it stands right now, but I'm excited to see that movie. I want to give it a chance. I think it looks like it can be fun.
I'm hoping it is a good movie. I just cannot stand the look of Joker. But that's another topic for another time.
I feel like, okay, we're eating up time here. I think we should move on over to Civil War.
I feel Batman vs. Superman is a watchable movie, but I will agree the movie had its flaws. But that's my opinion. I know how you feel on Batman vs. Superman, but if you rate it out of 10...
if I had to rate it out of 10, and like I said, I am sorry, because I know we're going to lose a giant chunk right off the bat, but I have to give it a 3, because I think he missed the point completely.
I give it a 7 out of 10. It once was a 7.5, but the more I thought about it, I feel like it is a watchable movie.
We were going to jump over to Civil War, but now I have one last point I have to make.
Okay.
All right. One of the other reasons I don't like this film is they've ruined a whole bunch of potential storylines going forward that they can no longer do.
They went Injustice way too soon.
Oh, it's not just that. I'm saying that now you have Superman who is dead now, so the whole death of Superman arc is now completely useless.
That could have been a movie on its own.
Absolutely. Think about that. You could have had the whole Justice League attending his funeral. You could have had everything, and it would have been a big, powerful moment. But as opposed to having it be the second thing in a film series. I mean, and it's pointless. You know he's coming back. You know he's coming back before the credits roll. There was no hit or emotional impact to that film.
The timeline in his movie, he's been around for about 2 years now, right?
Exactly.
Way too soon to gather such a crowd for him.
And he's gone right from the word go. And I feel like you've ruined one of the most classic Superman story arcs. And even when you look at the Batman arc, the Batman Superman arc, that's what was that one called? The Dark Knight Rises in the comic books? What is it?
Returns.
Dark Knight Returns.
Where Batman was old and and everything. Yes.
You've ruined one of the best storylines of Batman, I feel, too, because...
No, not...
Yes, ruined. Now, hear me
No,
out.
not the best Batman story, but one of his most iconic story arcs, yes.
One of the most iconic, sure.
Killing Joke is the best story.
Okay, I have to agree with that. But when it comes down to it, the fight, they had it on such a wrong scale that, I mean, sure, they fought, but you don't feel it at all. There's no real connect to the characters.
It was a 3-minute fight.
And it's just like somebody slammed their action figures together, or somebody else... It's like if you were to walk outside and somebody dressed up in a Batman, Superman costume and just started fighting each other. You don't know any motive as to why they're doing it, they're just doing it.
Or watching any Michael Bay scene with Transformers.
Exactly. It's just mindless destruction for the sake of destruction. Now, if you look at the source material book of that, you had this thing where Superman has been long since established, he stands with the law and all of that, where Batman has this viewpoint that the law isn't enough to get it done. So when it comes down to this clash... You have Superman, who's actually standing with the side of the government, and Batman, who's actually, rivaling against it to try and save his city in the best way he feels is possible, giving this really epic sense of contention that you don't get in...
Which is then ruined with Doomsday.
Exactly. The thing is, that's not how it came across at all, even in this one. In this one, they took opposite sides. It was like, Batman was the one complaining, that Superman is unchecked and all that stuff, which...
And
yeah.
Superman disagreed with his way of justice.
Exactly. The roles were reversed and done very poorly. But we're going to move on to Civil War because I got a throbbing thing in my head, and...
I feel like we focused way too much on Batman versus Superman.
But
let's go to a good movie, which we both agreed is a fantastic movie.
I'm going to say it right off from the bat. I loved Civil War, and I can already hear people going, fanboy! And you know what? To a degree, I'll even give you it.
The only complaints I heard about Civil War, which are comic book fanboys of the story arc of Civil War, which I agree, I agree with your complaints, people. It did not follow the comics. It was not supposed to follow the comics. There was
no way they could. They don't have enough characters yet to follow that story.
It was an inspiration from the title. Mm-hmm. They did take a little from it, the registration.
The Sokovia Accords were taking place.
Tony recruiting Spider-Man.
And that stuff is fine. That's what you want from the film. But that being said, there definitely is some drawbacks to it. And if you wanted to be on the complaining side of it, you could say that Marvel has fallen into a formula and they're just rolling with it. But you know what? I give you that. It's a fair criticism. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. At this point, people aren't tired of it. It's working out well for them.
The Marvel movies are always on a high note. They did have some films with issues, Iron Man 3.
And I'd say Thor, the second Thor film as well.
I enjoyed the second one. It was the first one I had issues with, but that's just because I felt it was rushed.
And it was. To a degree, it was. I enjoyed the first Thor more than the second.
And I heard people didn't care much for the second Iron Man film, which that one I felt was more fun than the first one.
But it had its problems.
Anyway, Civil War, though, I have nothing bad much to say about this movie. I felt some scenes were a little rushed, but it's a movie where they had a lot of material in this movie. It's understandable some scenes are going to feel rushed.
And even with the amount of stuff that they were able to do, they balanced all of the characters in the story. And there is a lot of characters in the story. I think something like 14?
I want to say around that, yes. 14
major superheroes, and by the end of it, it doesn't feel like any of them have really been slighted for screen time.
No.
I feel like each character had gotten their chance to shine.
I felt we needed more Hawkeye, in my opinion. But Hawkeye always gets the low end.
Yeah.
Except in Agent Ultron, he had more screen time.
Well, yeah, with the exception of Age of Ultron, Hawkeye has always gotten the shaft.
I felt in this movie, though, Black Widow had the most screen time, which I was happy about. On the side characters note, though.
Yeah, okay, from a side perspective, but that's because she had such a starring role in Winter Soldier, and since this is...
Which I never complain about Black Widow screen time. Then again, I have a love for Scarlett Johansson.
He really does. It borders on the creepy.
She is going to be my future ex-wife. But
that is terrifying and stalker material, and I don't endorse that.
But no, she is a fantastic actress. I love her work. I felt she would... I don't see anyone else playing Black Widow besides her.
Well, it's funny you should mention that. Back when they first originally cast that, I didn't think that was the right way to go.
She was a big fan of Black Widow. Before she even got the role, she dyed her hair the color and everything. She started training.
Oh, no, I'm not saying I was happy to be proven wrong. This is one of those things just where, where you go out happy to be wrong. Which, sometimes fanboys could grasp onto and be happy when they're wrong.
Yes.
So.
But overall, I felt this movie was a perfect 9 out of 10. Like I said, my points were some scenes were rushed, and I felt some characters could get some more time, but...
That's the thing, too. I won't go so far as to say that it's a perfect film. I definitely loved it. Do I think it's as good as the first Avengers or anything like that? No, I wouldn't call it that good. But I loved what was there. I felt like every character got their chance to shine.
It was a great recovery from Age of Ultron.
I'm going to have to disagree with him on that one. I loved Age of Ultron, but I'll stand by it.
I enjoyed Age of Ultron. I just... The movie got a little too dark and everything. There was way too much destruction, which was what the whole point of leading up to Civil War
I was just about to say,
about.
But it grasps into Civil War, which... If you look at the series as a whole, which is kind of how you're supposed to look at it,
yes, cinematic universe.
Yeah, it works well. And you know what? Maybe, and just maybe, folks, I will be able to say that one day about Batman Superman. Maybe they'll be able to, in the future films, adapt that one in such a way where it looks like a pivotal piece. But as of right now, where it stands, I don't see how that's a thing.
I'm just going to add something about Civil War. I can already hear some of you guys saying this, but I am perfectly fine with Aunt May's age.
I am too. It doesn't bother me. It feels like they're going more for the Ultimate Universe for this Spider-Man, which I'm more than okay with. I love the Ultimate Spider-Man comics. I read every single one of them up until they killed Peter Parker, and then I was just out.
Well, then we got Miles.
And I know people love Miles, and I've read some of them with Miles. He's a good character, but for me, it's Spider-Man. Peter Parker will always be Spider-Man.
I was uncertain about, what's his name, Tom Holland?
Yeah, Tom Holland, yeah.
I was a little uncertain at first, but after seeing him in the role, he's perfect for Spider-Man. I will always be a fan of Andrew Garfield, but Andrew Garfield was a little... He wasn't the perfect Spider-Man. Better than Tobey Maguire. But
I'll give you that.
Tom Holland, I definitely approve.
So I feel like we've gushed over this one a little bit. Any negative notes that you really want to throw out there?
I felt the friendship between Iron Man and Captain America was torn way too fast. They should have had more trust for each other. But I understand the roles they were given in the script and everything. I just felt that their friendship was torn a little too fast.
The only real one I can think on my side is, when it comes down to it, is the same problem that Marvel movies have had an issue with in the past, and that's their villain. When it comes down to Baron Zemo, it was a radical departure from the comic book version of Baron Zemo, which, to a degree, I was okay with because it worked for their story, but he bared such little resemblance that you could have called him anything and it would have been just fine.
I completely forgot there was a villain in this movie.
Exactly, and that's my point. The Civil War and the majority of the Marvel films, with the exception of maybe Loki, I would say have forgettable villains.
I felt they should have brought Red Skull in this movie.
But then there's an issue with Hugo Weaving. He doesn't like putting on the makeup, and I think they're done
I don't
with
care.
Red Skull.
You could have easily recast him then. It's a mask. But Red Skull, I know they weren't going to kill off Captain America. Spoilers for those who haven't read the comic. But Red Skull did play a role in Civil War. But I've always agreed Marvel lacks in their villains. They play too much on the hero's origins and building it up and everything. And then the villain gets barely any lines, excluding Loki and Ultron. But
yeah,
a Marvel, if a superhero film needs a good villain, and Civil War lacked in that. But like I said, the movie had so much going on, I completely forgot there was supposed to be a villain.
Exactly. But, yeah, that's basically, I think, our major takes on Batman, Superman, and Civil War.
Civil War wins, clearly, even though my opinion on Batman vs. Superman still stands. It is a watchable movie.
And,
But we're
yeah, I
not going to
can't
get
on
into
that.
a debate again.
I know,
We're
I
not
know.
going to get into this.
Maybe in a future episode, we'll actually, just for fun, take opposite sides where I'll defend Batman Superman and he'll defend Civil War. And we'll play devil's advocate for each other and just see how it goes. But, yeah, I think that could be fun.
Let's talk about some other things we're looking forward to we're doing with the show now. We kind of skipped the introductions a little. I mean, we said our names. I'm Damon, and
I'm Nick.
And this whole show is not just going to be about movies. We're looking forward to doing many things with you guys. Like
Movies, comics, television.
video games is going to be a key core. We have some plans about video games, not only talking about them and everything. We're looking at playing some games with you guys, and we hope you enjoy that.
We're also going to be doing movie reviews as well. So.
Which was basically this whole episode.
Well, this wasn't a movie review. This turned out to be more of a rant. Which,
For
always fun.
you, it was more of a rant.
For me, it was more of a rant.
You needed to get you needed to get that pain out.
I did. This was a therapy session for me, folks, and I'm sorry that I did it on the airwaves, but...
You'll be hearing more from me in the next episodes. He just had so much built up.
You have no idea. That movie has been like a thorn in my side.
He went home crying after watching that movie.
I did. I was a wreck. I was a wreck. Bad.
I was fine.
Like a baby.
Then again, I had a hard on for Ben Affleck in that movie.
A physical hard on. It got creepy.
It was like I was watching Scarlett Johansson in a Marvel movie.
Yeah, except it was a dude, and it was all it got really weird.
It's all right to have a man crush in it.
Hey, I'm not saying there isn't. I'm not saying there isn't.
We hope you guys join us again. And once again, we are Let's Talk Nerdy. We'll have a better intro, trust me, and a better ending. But if you guys do have some opinions about what we talked about, don't be afraid to leave a comment or anything. And take it easy on us. We're new. This is a first episode. If you have anything negative to say, direct them towards Nick.
Yeah, that's fine. I can take it.
He's the asshole.
Just tell me to jump up my own ass and die. I'm cool with it. So, all right. Well, thank you very much.
I'm Damon.
I'm Nick.
Thank you for joining us.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.